Asian people in the US are so weird, liking white people more than their own people.
Ni hao, ni hao.
Alright, she know Chinese.
Ni hao, wo xiao tim. Ni hao.
A white man went to a massage parlor and shot Asian women.
Recently, there's been multiple racial acts against Chinese people in Australia, especially in Sydney.
I've got a Chinese.
Did anyone order a Chinese?
It's not grey, but it's not like how others look. People are like really like orangey yellow. Ours isn't, but trust me, it tastes.
So this is what British people think Chinese people eat. And they're saying a Chinese like they're about to eat a person. I just can't get over it.
I mean, Chinese people started COVID, but like I'm pretty sure all Asian people like eat dog. Anyway, do you want to go outside and tan?
Oh, is that what I think it is?
What?
Is that fish sauce?
Yeah, it's good.
I just smelled it. Did you put any in mine?
No.
Thank goodness.
It makes it taste better.
Oh, how?
It makes it saltier. See?
Just the smell alone is like making me want to throw up.
So good.
Now you're married to an Asian man and you're doing all that. And for that Asian man over there just sitting like lately explaining to you, your husband, no. I don't get why you're just letting her disrespect your food like that. If it stinks so much and you have so much problem with eating Asian food, don't marry an Asian man. You marry your European man.
Whenever they see someone Asian, they will tell me that it's me because I'm Asian. I'm just talking to a friend of mine that's Asian, and then they'll say that we're sisters, and I say, no, we're not. And I just keep telling them to stop saying that, and they won't stop saying it.
Wait, let me finish my point. I think it is gaslighting when, again, the majority of violent attacks against Asians are not being perpetrated by white people to blame white supremacy.
White supremacy as a construct is this idea like that the norm of American is whiteness.
Yes.
That whiteness is the default.
Standard.
That whiteness is the standard that we all ought to aspire to. And we deviate
It's not
from
just talking about KKK.
Yeah.
It's not talking about lynching. It's about a mentality that we have absorbed.
This is something that comes up a lot in these talks about racial equity and social change. When we use the word white supremacy, everybody wants to cringe up and get scared. White supremacy is not, as Elaine said in this video, not just people running around with hoods on their heads or committing hate crimes. It's the prevalent spirit of this nation that centers whiteness in our institutions, in the rules that we make, the things that make white people the default. Why is it that when you question things that impact your identity within this larger society that is America, you are deemed to be a problem? Why is it that America is supposed to be this all-inclusive nation made up of all these different kinds of people, but then if you're different or you don't fall in line, then you're marginalized and you're deemed as other? Whether you want to be a victim or not, in this country of the United States, there is definitely a way that you can act in order to not experience trouble. And we see it in Asian communities all the time. You know, don't make a fuss, don't go against the grain, stay silent, keep your head down. That's our communities succumbing to white supremacy because they don't want us to buck and ask questions despite their history. And when I say their history, I'm talking about the white people who led America to do the things that it did to Asian nations that caused our ancestors, and not even just our ancestors, but our relatives, to come over to this country in the first place. Now, I know TikTok is really weird about its community guidelines and bullying, so I'm not going to mention anybody by name, but it's really weird that if you were a Vietnamese person, knowing the history of Vietnam and why so many Vietnamese people came over to the United States of America in the first place, and the role that the United States had in playing in the Vietnam War and all of the refugees, I'm going to stop. Hopefully TikTok doesn't take this down.
These are some things that white people say about Asian people in private. If you're a person who falls into this demographic, you might have heard these things before, but if you're a white person, stop fucking saying these things. Number one, the Chinese food boycott by white people during the COVID pandemic. Yeah. I know of many white people who will still not eat Chinese food ever since the pandemic because they are convinced that somehow eating Chinese food is supporting China, or that they're going to somehow contract the virus through the food because of the connections that they have. Number two, saying that Asian people smell bad. This is a very pervasive myth among white conservative people, specifically referring to South Asian people. Number three, not knowing the difference between the different languages in Asia and just referring to anyone who looks remotely Asian as Chinese. Number four, refusing to visit any country in Asia, whether it's Japan, Thailand, etc., because it is either dirty or because they don't want to support the enemy. Number 5, assuming that any Asian person who has had a successful career cheated because of the way Asian people are raised to be very intelligent, definitely rooted in race.
According to a new study, white folks are afraid of Asian kids enrolling in their kids' schools because of the perception that their kids will not look as bright in comparison.
Wasian gathering is getting a lot of attention thanks to this excellent Substack essay. It's this writer's first ever Substack post, and it's gone so viral. It's because the topic is making people uncomfortable and they're attacking the writer. Wasian means white plus Asian. Asians already have a problem with valuing whiteness and trying to be proxy white and model minority. By definition, Wasian excludes Blasians. It excludes anyone who's 100% Asian and 0% white. And I believe this gathering was meant to be harmless, but what is it? Good intentions pave the way to hell. The writer touches on what I think is the most important part of Wasian media visibility, which is this word palatable. Wasians are way more palatable than full-on Asians or dark-skinned Asians to general audiences. And that's a huge privilege that Wasian actors and singers reap. Why else did they cast this guy who was exclusively, I think, a travel host before getting this plum role when there are plenty of full Asian actors, career actors with experience doing movies? The feelings that this gathering is stirring up have to do with tone deafness. And it reminds me so much of the scene in my book, which takes place at an elitist East Coast boarding school where the white school president declares that there is an event called Hug an Asian Day. And while my book is fiction, I'll say that this was inspired by a real event at my real boarding school. Hug an Asian Day was not meant to hurt anyone's feelings, of course, just like Wasian gathering. My book is a satire, though, and that event in real life did get canceled. The administrators caught wind of it and quietly shut it down. Even in 2010, they knew that a printout list of all the Asian students and kids running around campus checking off Asians one by one as they hugged them. Not a good PR move. Wasian identity has a PR problem also because what grounds it, and this is what the writer points out, is whiteness. So it's excluding people who aren't white, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we already have plenty of that.
As a mixed Asian, I want to weigh in on the Wasian conversation right now. People right now are discussing Wasians in entertainment. We have Hudson Williams, we have Leify, we have Megan from Cat's Eye. And there's two sides to this conversation. One, it's great to have more Asian representation, absolutely, of course, in Hollywood and in media. But two, we can't help but notice that a lot of this Asian media and representation, a lot of them are half white. And a lot of people are just saying, shut up, just be okay with having representation. But I actually want to talk about the history of half white, half Asianness and the impact of white savior narratives and how these two things are connected. When you look at the Filipino-American War, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and then the US occupation thereafter, grape and essay was used as a tool of colonization. The US literally had to create the War Brides Act, where when American soldiers would either want to marry or take women against their will, they could actually bring them back to the United States. And Asian men and women fell to the allure of this prospect through media. When you look at The King and I, white woman tames a noble savage in Southeast Asia. Madame Butterfly, Asian woman, takes her own life over a white man. Miss Saigon, Asian woman, takes her life over a white man. I'm not saying an Asian person and a white person cannot fall in love, but I'm saying that media and storytelling impact how we see ourselves and how we see race. So when you have Leify bring together the supposed avengers of mixed Asians, and they all happen to be white, and in the video they're only celebrating their whiteness, if you are not a mixed Asian and you're actively pushing against oppressive systems, then you're upholding the system and strengthening it. This couldn't be more apparent than at Coachella, because Leify and FKA Twigs were playing against each other. They're both mixed race Asians, whereas Leify upholds the idea of white nostalgia built on black music without mentioning black people, whereas FKA Twigs' music and performance actively works to decolonize. So if you are mixed Asian, it is your job, it is our job to learn our histories, especially during AAPI month, and decolonize ourselves. Why do I exist? Where did I come from? Not just one generation ago, not just 2 generations ago, 3 generations, 4 generations. What is our history? Because often our history is soaked in blood and oil.
And the reason that the Wasian meetup was weird is because if you were craving mixed Asian community, it could have just been a mixed Asian meetup. If I'm craving as a biracial woman community with other mixed, multi-ethnic racial people, I'm gonna hang out with other mixed people. If I'm craving to connect with my Chinese heritage, I'm gonna hang out with other Chinese people, regardless of what % Chinese they are. And if I'm craving for God knows what reason to connect with my white heritage, then I'm gonna go get a Subway sandwich. a foot long. But I don't understand why. It's almost like, it just feels like you're kind of like celebrating the fact that the W is in the mix, because there's so many mixed Asian people in, but we chose to make it a W exclusive event, and I just think that's weird.
I'm back and I'm having my snack now. What I was trying to say is it's just kind of like it's kind of like they made a W only space within the Asian community, and I just think that is peculiar, and I think that anyone, when you hear it that way, it just sounds, do we hear how it sounds?
I can't explain it, but Asians who don't like other Asians, they have this like dead-eyed look, like there's a glaze over their eyes always. It's like their connection to self was like beaten out of them in a way to kind of like survive. And instead of like judging them, I don't hate them, but I just have this deep sense of pity. Because I grew up being like that. Like, if I hated myself before everyone else hated me, then I would never be caught by surprise. But then it seeps into like every crevice. Like, it really is like that get-out-ification of self and existence. Like, it's never too late to both like yourself and connect to people who have shared experience and who reflect physically even back to you in a way. Like, it's just never too late to wake up to your fullest self.
According to a new study, white folks are afraid of Asian kids enrolling in their kids' schools because of the perception that their kids will not look as bright in comparison. The researchers looked at moving patterns in California and found that there is this definitive link between Asian families moving to a community and white families not only just switching schools, but moving out of the community altogether. After controlling for a lot of factors, they found that for every one Asian student that entered a school system, it resulted in 1.5 white kids moving away. And they found that the fact that Asian students, on average, perform better in education outcomes was the main driver of this behavior. It's not just California either. A writer found in 2017 in Johns Creek, a suburb of Atlanta, that as Asian folks were moving in, white people would move out because they believed that the schools were getting too competitive. This dovetails nicely in something I talked about a couple days ago, which is relative position. The idea that some people believe that a good is only good if they have more of it than their neighbors. If nothing else, this helps just put to rest this idea of the good school, at least in the white community, because a lot of times outcomes are used as a stand-in for being a good school. But what if it has more to do with relative position and homogeny?
Actually shaking. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm in Maruba right now because I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have a little thrifting day. And I'm in a really small parking lot, and this lady who's clearly been in the parking lot waiting for a spot is kind of blocking the entrance. So I go around her and I'm just waiting at the end of the parking lot, and then I see a car one spot behind me. Someone's about to move out. They put all the shopping in and everything, and then I start blinking because I was like, oh great, I found a spot. Then the lady who had been there waiting for a while starts driving up and puts her indicator on. And then I was like, oh, that's a bit weird, just because like I saw the spot first and, you know, like it was right behind me. I was like, I thought I could have it. And then as the car pulls out, I'm starting to reverse. She comes right behind me and starts beeping at me. And I'm so confused because it was like I saw the spot first. And then she pulls around and rolls the window down, and I explain, I'm just like, hey, sorry, like I already put my indicator on. I was waiting for the spot first. And then she proceeds to be like, but I got here before you. And I was like, yeah, you may have got here before me, but I claimed the spot first. Like I put my indicators on. And I can't believe she was like, just like this country, I got here first. Like I am Australian. Like my background is full Chinese, but I just didn't think in this day or age, like racism could hit so hard. It was just such a confronting experience. Anyways, I proceeded to get another parking spot.
Living in Australia with an Asian mum, I have seen mum experience so much racism. And so obviously, you know, her being on the show, I was terrified for that from the possible contestants and the Australian public. And it's just worse than I could have imagined, like, especially because I thought there would be at least some moderation from Channel 9. Like, it's actually a joke. Like, top comments with, 100 likes, and they just leave it there. Like, it is not okay. And obviously, white boomers, unfortunately, you're going to expect a lot of racism amongst that group. So maybe I should have known, but it is horrible. Just so horrible. Like, I actually am shaking with anger.
Can we talk about Asian racism in Paris? Because I have so much to say and no one to talk to about this. One, you will get Asian catcalled. So they will say ni hao to you on the streets. Like, random people will be passing by and will say ni hao to you. I've gotten ni hao, I've gotten konnichiwa. Once I was with my Asian girlfriends and someone yelled Gangnam Style at us. And I was like so shocked, but it's getting a little creative, Second, they will ask you where you're from. And when I first got here, I was really shocked that so many people would ask me like, oh, but where are you really from? When I would tell them I was Canadian, they'd be like, sure. And so, like, to French people, it's not rude to ask you where you're from. They don't understand that you can look a certain way and be from a different culture, because obviously Chinese, right? Third, related to the second point, they will expect you to know everything about every Asian culture. For example, I went to the cafeteria and the cafeteria man asked me where I was from, and I said China, and he was like, oh, my daughter's really into K-pop Demon Hunters. And I was like, sir, what does that have to do with me? And another interaction that will never ever leave my brain is I was at a bar and I was talking to this guy and he's like, oh, where are you from? And I say, I'm from China, or like, I'm from Canada, but I'm Canadian Chinese. And he's like, oh, do you know about Chinese history? And his eyes like lit up and he was like so excited to talk to me about Chinese history. And I was like, no, not really, because I am Canadian. And he was like, bah, dommage. And I was like, I was so fucking pissed off, because why do you expect me to know everything about Chinese history, my guy? And I don't understand why they see an Asian person or a Chinese person and they're like, oh, this person is gonna know everything about the history of China and I can finally like info dump on them. You don't see enough Chinese people? Go find a Chinese history club or something. Like, don't ambush random Asian people you meet at bars, please. And finally, the fourth point, they will bring up their Asian girlfriend / wife. Every time in any conversation that I've had, that man will be like, oh, my girlfriend is Vietnamese. My wife is Chinese. And what the fuck does that have to do with me, my guy? Am I gonna be like, oh my god, that's so great, you have an Asian wife, like, we feel so close, I feel so close to you now. No, I do not give a fuck about your Asian wife. Please do not bring her up thinking that it will make you look cultured or interesting or it'll make you relate to me, please. So technically, this has been a PSA to French people and also a warning to Asian people that come here. And this is coming, again, from a Canadian girly that has lived here for 4 years. And if you have any more questions about this, I would be so happy to answer any of them.
Alright, so growing up, I always thought that, like, Wasians were, like, low-key superior. Like, I was like, dude, I wish I was Wasian, bro. Like, I have, like, like, black hair, brown eyes, like, pretty normal. And I'm, like, full Asian. But, like, low-key, like, as time goes on, I feel like the Asian people are, like, getting more in the meta. And I'm like, bro, low-key, like, I'm kind of glad I have, like, pretty Asian features, I'm glad, like, I used to have a perm, but now my hair is, like, straighter. I'm like, bro, low-key, it's a vibe. And, like, I just feel like growing up, I kind of put, like, Wasian on a pedestal. And I think that there still are some, like, I have some really good-looking Wasian friends. But I think that as time went on, I'm starting to realize that, like, if you're chopped, you're chopped. If you're good looking, you're good looking. And I think that I'm glad that, I got good Asian genes. And so I don't know, I just think that I don't have that Wasian pedestal anymore. And I think that, like, Asians are underrated. So yeah, That's my take. But yeah, thanks for watching.
Oxford study, Chopped Wasian, Leve, Elisa Liu, Mad Woman music video. Tell me why other Wasians themselves are downplaying the experiences of other mixed Asians. Like the whole Wasian meetup thing. Like at first it was marketed as half Asians, but then later they changed it to just Wasians. And that's because of like the sudden trendiness of being Wasian, half white and half Asian. Because of Asian fetishization mixed with white supremacy. And the reason they're so trending is not because of the culture. They only care that it's white people plus the new exotic Asian culture. And one of the experiences that literally every mixed person has experienced is not fitting into your culture. And I don't know why people are trying just to say that Wasians are the only one who experienced this, because it's literally every mixed Asian. And now we're just watering down having Asian culture and being mixed to being Wasian. And those same people are suddenly saying, oh, my first time being Chinese and stuff like that, even though they were just making fun of people for being Asian before. And now since Wasians are suddenly trending, non-Asians are watering down being Asian to just being Wasian and watering down the culture and pretending like it's theirs. And a lot of those Wasians participating in like the Wasian Discord servers and stuff, they don't really acknowledge like the other mixed races and stuff. And at first when I heard about this Wasian trendiness and stuff, I thought it was finally representation to mixed people. But other mixed Asian experiences exist too. And people are saying AAPI month is just about Wasians, which is not. And I think that all mixed Asians should be included in AAPI month. I think that all Asians should. I don't think it should be centered around a type of Asian.
Question. This actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us Black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially.
Sad to say, but I know that there's anti-Blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-Blackness is global. And I think like
it's a very long historical answer.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-Blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that Black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-Blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet Black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things. Which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, you know, to keep upholding this idea of, and instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-Blackness, because one is, you know,
hand in hand,
and they push this anti-Blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, you know, come to those terms. And instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like the short end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to contribute. That was very concise. A lot of people are just conditioned to believe that Black people are whatever the conditioner wants you to believe they are.
Yep.
And, you know, like my grandma, The only black people she had ever seen were American soldiers in Korea. And to her, they were all part of the same group. And then when she came to America, all she knew about black people was, like you said, what she had seen on TV, what people had told her. And so she was very distrusting of black people. And I was like, how many black people are just like everybody else? Like, I go to school with black kids, like, and she was just like, oh no, they're very dangerous. I'm like, they're not. This is just what people wanted you to believe. But what else did she know? You know what I mean? She's just this like, country girl from, uneducated, and is told by everybody in power what to believe. My God is better. My people are better. My guns are better. So she's like, okay, well, all of these things are better. So I better side with the better side.